as a longtime fan of J.R.R. Tolkien's epic saga and Peter Jackson's cinematic adaptations, I find myself deeply immersed in the world of Middle Earth, once again through Amazon's The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. In this captivating series, Sauron's manipulations and machinations are skillfully woven into the narrative, even without the literal Eye of Sauron. Warning, spoilers for Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 6 ahead. As a movie connoisseur, I must say that Peter Jackson's interpretation of Sauron in his Lord of the Rings films stirred quite a debate among fans. However, the Prime Video series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, has cleverly reverted this change. In contrast to Jackson's adaptation, where Sauron was merely an unseen force in Frodo's journey, this new series is set during the Second Age, providing a unique opportunity to delve deeper into the villainous character of Sauron. Since Sauron did not physically manifest in Frodo's story, Jackson had to be inventive with his portrayal. This creative choice, while effective for its time, feels unnecessary in The Rings of Power, as it now has the chance to present Sauron in a more tangible and engaging way. No, in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings film series, Sauron hadn't regained a tangible form. Instead, he was depicted as a fiery eye atop Barad-dûr, continually scanning Middle-earth for his One Ring. The image of Sauron's eye has since become synonymous with the Lord of the Rings universe, so much so that it's often easy to overlook that this representation was entirely created for Jackson's movies. This visual portrayal was a contentious shift at the time because the eye in Tolkien's works had always been symbolic. The Amazon series Rings of Power has now reverted to Tolkien's original concept. The Rings of Power Season 2 makes the Eye of Sauron metaphorical. Again, Adar speaks of Sauron's eye the way it was originally intended. In the second season of The Rings of Power on Prime Video, Sauron's fortress, Barad-dûr, hasn't been built yet, leaving open the possibility that the series might incorporate the fiery eye symbol associated with Sauron from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films. Yet, Adar's words in Season 2, Episode 6 suggest a return to the Eye of Sauron metaphor, used frequently by J.R.R. Tolkien, specifically during his conversation with Galadriel, Adar mentioned that Sauron's eye pierces through, while the rest of him moves stealthily, hinting at the Dark Lord's ability to control and manipulate his victims without them realizing it. It should be noted that this statement is not meant to be taken literally. In The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien often described Heron's eye as a symbol of his power throughout the Third Age. This symbolized that he was constantly observing both his followers and enemies, reinforcing the notion that his presence was ever present. When Gandalf or Elrond spoke of the Eye of Sauron, they referred to his influence and expansive evil across Middle-earth. In Rings of Power Season 2, Episode 6, this is exactly what Adar tells Galadriel. When Sauron focuses on a target, that person becomes completely under his control. How the Eye of Sauron is shaping the rings of Power's story in Season 2. Sauron's metaphorical eye is set on several game pieces in the second season of The Rings of Power. Sauron has set his gaze upon various victims. His malicious influence has been primarily focused on Celebrimbor, who little by little is succumbing to the corrupting power of the Rings of Power. Moreover, Sauron has planted deceitful seeds within Khazad-dûm, a place that's so showing signs of decay this season. And furthermore, in episode 6 of The Rings of Power Season 2, Adar, the Uruk leader, is not yet aware that his actions against Eregion are being orchestrated by Sauron's hidden manipulations, despite acknowledging Sauron's power to control the denizens of Middle-earth. Because in the second season of Rings of Power, if Sauron were a tangible character with an eye, his fiery gaze might shift between Eregion, Khazad-dûm, Adar, and Galadriel. At present, these locations appear to be the pieces on his game board. Nevertheless, since Sauron is already a visible character in the series, Amazon Prime Video doesn't necessarily need to manifest this metaphor as they did in Peter Jackson's Laura or the Wings movies, because Sauron is already physically present on screen. And did Peter Jackson's literal eye of Sauron work for the Lord of the Rings movies? A physical eye was perfect for Jackson's movies. In Jackson's interpretation of films, it portraying the Eye of Sauron literally stirred debate initially, but its impact on the narrative was so profound that now many forget it wasn't ever part of Tolkien's original work. And this sound like this creative choice made the Sauron like a tangible character, even though his physical form never graced the screen. The persistent, unsettling feeling that Sauron was always observing the characters hinted at their imminent downfall and the potential failure of their plans. The absence of the eye on top of the tower doesn't indicate that its film adaptation is, and instead it highlights how distinct tools are essential for different storytelling platforms. Both The Rings of Power and Peter Jackson's movies had to deviate from Tolkien's original work because no screen adaptation can avoid changes. As separate TV shows and movie franchises occurring at different times in Middle-earth, they each have unique requirements. Whether Sauron is portrayed as a fiery eye or a physical being, both The Rings of Power and found ways to convey his influence as incredibly terrifying